Yeah.
How's it going, everyone? This is the Anime Man. If you're watching this video as it comes out, like on the day that it comes out or somewhere similar to that date, then I'm sure you're all familiar of a certain hot topic that is revolving around in the anime community right now. A little bit of a controversial topic known as One Punch Man Season 2. Now, for those of you who are not watching this as it comes out, i.e. you're watching this from the future, then hello. Glad to see that humanity is still thriving on shitty YouTube videos like this for entertainment. But let me also explain the situation in case you missed it when it happened. One Punch Man was a fantastic action-packed adventure of great animated proportions during its first season, thanks to, in no small part, the amazing folks over at Madhouse Studios, always doing God's work. Praise Miyazaki. But after 3 years of anticipated waiting from fans all over the world, there was news that the second season of One Punch Man would instead be taken over by the folks over at JC Staff, who, for those of you familiar with anime studios, is a studio that isn't exactly known for its high-octane action series. Except Slayers, that series is just awesome by default. And well, the reason why I'm talking about One Punch Man Season 2 is not just because everybody else is talking about it, but I also just happened to finish watching the first episode of Season 2, and can I just say, man,
it fucking sucked.
Compared to the first season, there was barely any fluidity to the animations, movements were all cut and dry, and the fight choreography was sloppy and unorganized at best. Like seriously, what part of Genos am I looking at here? And should I even care anymore? So I was this close to sitting in front of my laptop and typing up a script on how One Punch Man Season 2 is fucking horrible and JC Staff should be disgraced for making us wait for so long for something so mediocre. And then I stopped to think. I thought back on all of the horrible things I was to say about this anime when a little light bulb of a spark appeared on my head in the form of a simple question that I would like to kind of discover in today's video. Are anime studios controlling our minds? Now, of course, I'm not talking about actual mind control, like these anime studios aren't here trying to fucking Clockwork Orange us anytime soon. Or maybe they have and they've deleted our memories about it. But all jokes aside, there could be a little bit of a subtle tugging of the strings from anime studios as to how us anime watchers dictate the worth of a particular series. Now, normally when a seasoned anime fan is snooping around for new series to sink their hyper-analytical fangs into, we come up with a number of factors to help us get over that initial wall of judgment. Now, of course, this changes greatly depending on your expertise level with the whole industry in general, how much anime you've watched, what you're looking for in particular in your anime watching experience. But for the most part, a lot of seasoned fans look for things like anime directors, even production teams, and maybe even sometimes individual animators that they're a fan of, for all of you Sakuga tards out there. I, for one, when looking at new series that are about to come out, like in my What Will I Be Watching series that I do, look for mainly 4 things in particular. The genre that the show is going to cover, the synopsis of the show, what it's about, the promotional artwork that usually comes along with the initial judgment of the show, and of course, the studio that made the anime. More often than not, I can get a pretty good understanding and a pretty good sense of judgment for what I am about to expect from the show and what are some of the strengths and weaknesses that may possibly come out from this show before I even watched it. Of course, I'm not some fucking omnipotent soothsayer that can predict every single anime that is going to be a huge hit and every single anime that is going to be forgotten in the never-ending pile of meh series. In fact, in a lot of cases, I'm actually pleasantly or sometimes even unpleasantly surprised by how a show actually turns out, and man, you guys are never forgiving when I do fuck up in that sense. But regardless of how right or how wrong I am before I've even watched the show, it gives me a pretty general idea of what to expect from the show based on prior knowledge of series of the past. Using the aforementioned One Punch Man Season 2, for example, I saw that it was going to be animated by JC Staff, and I've seen a pretty good handful of stuff from JC Staff and Madhouse, and just from there I can expect a drop in animation quality no matter what. I'm aware of each of the studio's strengths and weaknesses when it comes to things like art style and animation and how they deal with certain genres that exist in One Punch Man, and so when Season 2 came about and I watched the first episode, I wasn't really surprised by the outcome. Wasn't surprised, still disappointed. But hang on a minute, you might be thinking, Joey, then wouldn't that mean that the studio is completely dependent on whether I like an anime series or not? Well, no, most of you would probably be saying right now. The studio is only there to dictate the art style and animation of the show and does not have any responsibility in the quality of the narrative of the show. Listen, if you're saying that to your screens at this very moment, then I'm sorry to say, but you've been caught in the brainwashing. Say, for example, you're one of the many people right now in the anime community who didn't like One Punch Man Season 2 so far because of JC Staff animating it, regardless of how much you fucking loved Season 1 because of Madhouse animating it. Then what if, hypothetically, Madhouse was never in the picture and it was actually JC Staff who was animating Season 1 from the very beginning? Would you honestly still be able to tell me that you love the One Punch Man anime as much as you do? Now, let me just come out right now and say it so that people aren't confused about how I think about this whole thing. I have fallen victim to this anime studio brainwashing a number of times in my life. For example, look at High School DD. Originally animated by TNK Studios, who really brought the first 3 seasons of the show to life with its great animation and perfectly matching character designs for the narrative and the genres that it covered. But hang on, if I remember correctly, there was also a 4th season of High School DD that wasn't really talked about by a lot of High School DD fans or even just general anime fans. High School DD Born. In fact, if I remember correctly, when High School DD Born actually came out, there were a lot of pessimistic opinions about the show, even from the most hardcore and seasoned of High School DD anime fans. Why was that again? Oh yeah, it's because the anime went from looking like this to looking like this. All because the great TNK Studios was replaced by a little animation studio by the name of Studio Passion. It's a little odd, isn't it, considering that on the grander scale of all the things that TNK and Passion have made, TNK actually have a worse reputation of creating some of the most mediocre or even shitty anime adaptations compared to Passion. Look, I totally get it though, right? Nobody likes change. Why try and fix something that isn't broken, right? Well, picture this then. What if Studio Passion animated the entirety of the High School DD anime from the very beginning? Would every single High School DD fan who was pessimistic and on the fence about High School DD Born still come out and say that they love the High School DD anime as much as they do? It's honestly hard to say, considering that every anime fan out there dictates the worth of art style and animations in their anime differently. But even after looking at a bunch of forums on Reddit about this change in art style, it seems that a lot of fans' faith in the series were really tested. Some people shrugging their shoulders being like, I'm not a fan of this change, but I'll get used to it eventually, to people just outright giving up on the series because it looks and feels too different from what it should be like. Now look, I know there are a few of you seasoned fans out there watching this video right now who are just shouting violently at their screens like, well, you know what, Joey? It's not all about the art style and animation. As long as they don't change the quality of the storytelling and the narrative, then it really doesn't matter what the anime looks and feels like. And listen, bro, I'm totally on board with that shit. I really do think that even some of the ugliest looking anime out there, some of the sloppiest animation out there, can still end up being a good overall experience, so long as the storytelling is on point, the characters are lovable, and overall you just had a fun time watching it. But let's be real here for just a quick second, fellas and ladies. Not every anime fan is going to think like that. Because for someone who is not as deep-rooted as a lot of seasoned anime fans are, those who just watch anime casually, just because they have nothing else to watch on Netflix or Hulu, for those people, art and animation in their anime is everything. It's the first thing and the last thing that they will most likely input from a particular show that they are watching, and thus it is strongly relevant in how they dictate the worth of a particular series. Think of it as if you were asked to decorate a cake with the same supplies as a professional patissier. Having little to no experience in decorating pastries, your cake is probably gonna look fucking horrible. Trust me, I've tried once or twice in my life and can confirm that it is a lot fucking harder than it looks. Unless you're watching this video and you yourself are a professional patissier. It doesn't count, okay? And well, because your cake looks a lot more horrible than the professional patissiers, even before you ask your friend to eat both the professionals' work and your crappy work, they're most likely going to be like, oh, yeah, your cake just probably tastes worse than the professionals' cake. Just from looking at it, I can tell it's probably going to taste horrible. But hang on a second, how could it possibly taste more horrible if you use the exact same supplies as the professional patissier? In Japanese cooking philosophy, there is a phrase which I fucking love, which is feed the eyes before you feed the stomach. And weirdly enough, I think that same philosophy applies greatly to anime. If something doesn't look good, then the person looking at it will most likely get ready to feel some kind of a negative experience out of it, more so than a positive one, regardless of how good the actual thing is despite its looks. If the right chef is not behind the kitchen counter, then the finished food is probably not going to be to your taste. In this case, the chef is the animation studio, and the cooking is the finished anime. And hey, if you're still sitting there at your screen, violently shouting at me like, well, whatever, if you don't like One Punch Man Season 2 anime, just go read the manga. If you didn't like High School DD Season 4, just go read the light novel. Using that excuse to justify your claims is exactly that, just an excuse. Because what if neither of these series had any original source material to go off in the first place? You sure as shit don't hear complaints about that from fans of original-only anime series. You'd just be running from the root of the problem and not trying to solve the issue. Now look, obviously on the grander scale of things, this isn't really so much of an issue, but just for the sake of this discussion, let's just assume it is, okay? The bottom line is, if an anime adaptation can't support itself on its own 2 feet without the source material trying to hold up all of its weight like it's crutches, then I would actually call that a failure of an anime adaptation. And will it deter my overall reputation for the series and franchise in general? You know what, maybe it will. I mean, I loved Seitokai no Ichizon Season 1 because Studio Dean was able to make the art style cute, and the animation hilarious and on point with the show's witty and oftentimes perverted humor. But when Studio AIC took over for Season 2, I felt that everything that made Season 1 great fell flat on its face. Would I have liked the series overall if AIC took over from Season 1? You know what? I don't know. Maybe I would have. But then I probably would have had a higher chance of running to the source material, which, admittedly, I actually did after dropping Season 2. So let's round all of that discussion up, all the points back up to the initial question of this video. Are anime studios controlling our minds? Well, probably yes. I mean, just from experience, they probably did with One Punch Man Season 2 with not just me, but with a lot of One Punch Man fans, especially when compared to the first season. But is that necessarily a bad thing? I don't think so. I think it goes to show just how important art style in animation really is in anime, despite every seasoned anime fan's opinions against that notion. And honestly, if you decide to drop a show because of a change in art style or animation from a different studio, that's completely okay in my opinion. At the end of the day, what you love and hate in anime is completely up to you. There's always going to be someone who loves what you hate and vice versa, and I think that really shows just how diverse and involved all of us are in this anime community. If anything, I think by us having that thought process, it adds a nice pressure to anime studios out there to get it right the next time, to make anime look and feel better and better with each new series that gets released. And hey, I mean, I feel that that kind of weak pressure from us anime fans is seeing results. I mean, just look at the past couple of years of anime and you'll see that animation quality and art style has greatly changed, a lot of the times for the better, sometimes for the worse. So the next time you are snooping through the next upcoming season of anime and trying to see what you would like to watch, just in the back of your mind, remember that anime studios are in fact controlling your mind. But don't let that simple fact deter you from what you will and won't watch the next season, and what you will and won't probably enjoy. Because that decision is not up to the anime studios, but up to you. But guys, let me know what you think about all this. Do you think that anime studios really are controlling everybody's minds like I think they are? Or am I just some paranoid weeb who is just overthinking this whole thing and just making a video like this because I'm running out of ideas? Also, what are some examples of times that you personally dropped or picked up on a series because of a studio change? What are some personal experiences that you've had of picking up or dropping a particular series because you saw that it was animated by your favorite or least favorite studio? And hey, if you can't answer either of those questions, then just maybe just say who your favorite studio is, because I really want to know. Leave all of your answers to those questions and any opinions on this video down in the comments below. And hey, let's do a special thank you to my patrons for this month. Ian Gardner, Casey Brown, Juan Wara, Shu Rib, Aaron McMullen, Lucy First, Little Thimble, Hunter Gibbons, Stefan Saniga, Instagatrix, Crescentia, Chris Turanek, Steve Lamb, and everybody else on my Patreon who supports me every single month. If you'd like to access my special Patreon-only podcast, Patreon-exclusive digital art prints of some anime series that I recommend for the month, as well as some secret videos that you'll only be able to see on my Patreon, and a whole lot more, then make sure to go to patreon.com/theanimeman. Go check it out and support your boy if you like it. Anyways guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe for any event. Keep watching anime. Ciao!